I honestly could probably just sit here in silence for the hour, and I think my emotions would be pretty well conveyed after the baseball game that we just had to witness. I don't have words. I'm going to try to say words. Actually, I do have a lot of words. This is going to be, I try to be the level headed, both types of ways. Hey, let's be not super overreactionary, but not underreactionary. I don't know how you can be anything but pissed off after what you watched today. This is Kevin and Zach React. We react to every single Orioles game, even the bad ones like today. Pretty awful baseball. The Orioles lose 9-0 to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Honestly felt like more. Now, if you told me everything that happened in this game and you said, oh, yeah, they lost 15-0, I'd have believed you. I'd have believed you. It was a pathetic display of baseball. It was embarrassing. The Orioles start to the season has been embarrassing. And anybody on that team will tell you that they have to play better, that their start to the season is not what they wanted. Of course, it's not what they wanted. But there are so many trends that we've identified, Zach and I, over the course of the last handful of games and dating back to last season that just haven't gotten better. And some, honestly, have regressed. Some have regressed. So I'm going to take you through about the first 30 minutes of the show here. Zach is going to pop on at about 7 o'clock and take it from there because I have to go do something for Locked On at 7. So I'm going to be with you till then, and then Zach will take over. Zach actually is currently cheating on me. So, what a guy. What a guy. But, no, show goes on. Zach will be on here to break down the rest after I head out. But I do want to spend my time talking about this team, expectations, the game, because, I don't know if worry is the right word. I mean, certainly that's one of them you can use. But I've accumulated a bunch of different stats and tweets from people in the baseball world just kind of illustrating what this Orioles season has been so far through their first 4 series, which again, they have not won one single series. They are 0-3-1 in their 4 series, which is where I start. Because for a team with World Series expectations, for a team that is supposed to have one of the best offenses in baseball, I mean, what are we looking at? What are we looking at right now? They're not having great at-bats overall. When they hit hard, they're hitting into crazy amounts of double plays. And yeah, you can say, oh, some of that's hitting luck and, they're making good contact on some. Yeah, sure. That's not a lie. But they've also made mistake on top of mistake after mistake. They run into outs. The defense hasn't been good to start the season either. I mean, it's just thing on top of thing on top of thing, which is frustrating. Am I declaring the season over on April 9th when you still have 49 games to go or whatever that number is? No, I'm not declaring the season over. But there are a lot of worries and a lot of concerns that you have to have at this point. Like, even if you're the most optimistic fan in the world, right? If you are, believe in the Orioles through and through, thick and thin, whatever it is, there are worrying and concerning trends that you cannot ignore. I mean, you just can't do it. You can't do it. So some of these stats I just want to read off quickly here. Jake Rill, who does great work over covering the Orioles at MLB.com, he says the Orioles lose 9-0 to the D-backs, dropping to a 3. This is the first time since 2010 the Orioles have not won any of their first 4 series of a season. The Orioles are now 5-8. They are 5-0 when scoring 5+ and 0-8 when scoring 4 or less. It's also the first time they're 3 games below 500 since July 8th, 2022, when they were 41-44. Jake also notes there. This is the boom or bust. And again, look, the pitching, the offense would have had to score 10 to win this game, which they can do. But this is not what it just feels like when you get into a game like this and you have such an all or bust team all around. It's not just it's the pitching staff too. Like, it feels like it's always that. I always compare it to like the put offense, starting pitching, and bullpen, and you try to turn all 3 of them on, have all 3 of them work at the same time. You can't do it. because it seems like one or two of them always falter when one is on. Today, it was all three. All three were bad. They scored no runs. The starting pitching, Dean, were not great. And then obviously Perez actually lowered his ERA today by giving up a run by 3 runs. 3 runs. He gave up the 1 earned. He had 2 walks. The controls all over the place. Perez's ERA, I just want to outline this for everybody. Perez's ERA coming into this game was 19.64. He gave up 1 run today in 1 1/3 inning, and he lowered his ERA by 3 runs, 19.64 to 16.2. Now, other than that, the bullpen has been great. Right? That's been the strength of the Orioles team to start the season. Colin Selby comes in after getting called up after Eflin goes on the IL. He gives up 2 runs, but you had Bowman come in and give you an inning scoreless. Dean, obviously, 4 2/3, 6 runs, 4 strikeouts. I mean, again, wasn't a great Dean day. We can all admit that. But it's all 3 of these things being that bad in a single game, and then you can't capitalize when 1 or 2 are on. That, to me, is where you're wasting opportunities. Because let's go over some of the Orioles scores so far this year. I just a couple of them, so we can I want to kind of contextualize what I'm trying to say. I'm pulling up their schedule quickly if it'll let me here. I hope it lets me. Nope, not letting me. 1 second. Here we go. Okay. For example, the Orioles lose 3-1 to Toronto on March 30th, where 3 runs should be enough to win you a game. The offense goes cold. They lose 3-0 to the Red Sox. Again, that should be enough to win you a game. The offense goes cold. You also have things where they're giving up, you win 9-5 against Toronto. That's a good game, right? That good game, what was it? 3rd game of the series against Toronto. 9 runs is great. The pitching gives up 5, but your offense is able to supplement through that. It just feels like more often than not what we're seeing. Again, Kansas City, you lose 4-1. This pitching staff is not expected to be the ace pitching staff of the MLB. You have to capitalize on those games, and it feels like more often than not, the offense just comes up small or they come up big. So it's all concerning stuff, and I know a lot of people will say, well, yes, we still are just a couple weeks into the season, which is absolutely true. I'm not trying to take away from that. But these are trends we've seen since June of last year. Where it's not just like the Orioles, they had a great run in the second half of last season. And, we're talking about a situation where these trends are new, right? We're not talking about that. We are talking about something that we have been talking about. I mean, look, if you've been listening to Kevin Zachariak since last season, you know that there are so many things that we've talked about over the past handful of games for this team. And handful, I mean 100. And I see Biohack, 100 game stretch now. I have that stat here. If I can find it. John Solomon, the Orioles were 49-25 on June 20th, 2024. They are 47-56 since then, including the playoffs. 47-56 since June 20th, 2024. I see people talking about the Joe Girardi situation in Philly. Seems like all those years ago now, but really it wasn't that long ago, where the Phillies went 22-29 to start the 2022 season. This coming from El Travs on Twitter here. Over his last 51 games, Brandon Hyde is 22-29. So again, is firing Brandon Hyde the answer? Is making a big personnel change the answer? Is benching someone the answer? Is sending someone down the answer? There are a lot of different ways that they could go, right? There are a lot of different ways that it could go. But I think something has to change because, again, I'm not contextualizing this in the Orioles through their first 4 series have looked bad. I'm contextualizing it as the Orioles since June of last year have looked bad. And the same trends that we talked about so often last season. Look, I've said this before. I'm not afraid to say it. The Orioles, they're rotten. This isn't a hot take either, but the Orioles roster is a worse roster this year than it was last year. And that's not a hot take. It's not a hot take. I've said it before. Because when you lose Corbin and you lose Tony, I know both of them have struggled in their new places to start. I'm not saying that. But when you lose those two guys and don't really replace them outside of the swap of Tony for Tyler O'Neill, you have a worse roster. It is what it is. Right now, is a Sandy Alcantara going to save you? Certainly help. I don't think you trade Basayo still. I don't think you want to go too crazy on the I don't want to, overreaction, whatever you want to say there. But we're in a situation now where do you just lower the expectations? Like, do you just say, hey, you know what? They started the year coming in as a World Series contender. Actually, we're going to see if they can even make the wild card, right? That's not fair to anybody, including like the fan base is what I'm talking about. That's not fair. That's not fair to the fan base. You look at the offseason, Zach and I said it. I mean, we both were very adamant about the fact that if Corbin left, they needed to replace him with some level of another ace or something along. It doesn't have to be even as good as Corbin is, just another guy in that rotation. Because what did we see last year? Corbin was that buffer, because when Grayson went down, when Bradish went down, you still had Corbin Burns. Now you have Charlie Morton. Now you have Dean Kramer. Tomoki Sagano was supposed to be this, like, hey, let's ease you in, Tomo. Like, let's see what you got. New adjustment for you. Obviously, very decorated pitcher from Japan, but he wasn't expected to be the Orioles' #1 starter less than 2 weeks into the season. I mean, this is where we are right now. And again, injuries are unfortunate. It's obviously difficult to go through all of that. It's hard because injuries happen for a number of different reasons, and it lowers your ceiling and it lowers your floor. But at this point, do you look at the managing? I mean, we've been very adamant on this show, Zach and I, that Brandon Hyde was the perfect guy for that rebuild, to be the steward of that. And, young guys getting up to the big leagues, finding their way, rejuvenating the Orioles franchise. But is he the right guy to lead the Orioles to a World Series championship? Is that the guy? Is he the one? And whether it's you feel like the players have quit on Brandon Hyde, or you feel like the messaging isn't getting through, or whatever it is, this Orioles team right now, all we're asking for, or at least all I'm asking for, is a series win for a team that is supposed to be a World Series contender. And that's the key word, supposed to be. Are they? Not the way they're playing right now. You could miss me with all that. They're not a World Series contender right now. They're not. Because you look at the staff the way it is right now, the offense can't hit. It feels like the game was over. If you want to really contextualize it, the game was over after the first inning. It was literally over after the first inning. And you know what the worst part of it is? You start to have those feelings of last year creep back in. And you're like 1-0 in the first. Man, that's a pretty big lead. It's pretty hard to come back from. Like, that's what it felt like. It felt like 1-0 is too big to overcome for this offense, and it literally was. It literally was. So, and Rick, I hear you, man. Right now, they're not a playoff team. You're 100% correct. They're not a playoff team right now. And, hopefully this home stretch can get them right. But right now, they're just hitting into double plays. They're running into outs. They're committing errors. Starting staff is shot. The bullpen has been great outside of Perez. I mean, things aren't fun right now. Things aren't looking bleak. I'm trying to pull up my other stats. I had to page them, then I lost it. Here's one of the double plays from Sam Cohn. The Orioles, who last year hit into the fewest double plays in a full season in MLB history, rounded into a pair of double plays today and now lead the league with 16. The most after that is the Athletics with 14. You want to look at the healthy starters right now for the Orioles, and this actually has changed because for those that didn't see, Cade Povich has had his stat line changed. The error on Mateo is now actually an error. So the 3 runs that Cade was charged with are now unearned. So actually, let me look up Cade real fast and see if I can get his updated ERA. No, it hasn't updated yet, but Cade's will be lower than his is 6.1, 610. But his is lower because the runs are now unearned. The Orioles starting staff. With an alarm going off right now. Sorry about that. All right, Orioles starting staff. Sagano is at 2.89. Sagano's been, look, outside of that first inning where he had to kind of settle some stuff down, Tomo's been really good. But Tomo's number 1 at 2.89. Cade is at 6.10, but that's with the asterisk. Dean Kramer is at 8.16, and Charlie Morton is at 8.78. And it, who knows how long Eflin's going to be out for? Obviously not season ending. He's on the 15-day IL right now. I'd probably expect that to be 3 to 4 weeks. Who knows when Grayson is coming back? I know there have been updates here and there. Who knows if Bradish and Wells are coming back as well? This is a pretty bleak situation. And again, it just feels like the Orioles went all in on this veteran idea of like, hey, we're going to bring in all these veteran arms, and Grayson and Eflin will be able to, make up what Corbin is leaving, or making up what Corbin was doing for them. But you always have to factor in the injuries. And now both those guys are done for, however long. And now you're in a really tough spot. So I don't really know. Again, the Orioles this is a huge series coming up. Like this Toronto series, it's going to, I know for some people it might make or break the season. But I don't know. I mean, if they lose 2 out of 3 again, what's the mood? I mean, the mood is already awful right now. The Orioles ended the series against the Diamondbacks scoring 8 runs in 3 games. They need to be more consistent, and that's the word. I want to try to go one show without saying the word consistent, by the way. Right? Words are tough. So you know what? We're 20 minutes in. I haven't talked about the game really at all. So we'll talk about the game, then I'll open it up to call-ins again. Zach will be here. I have a hard out right around 7, so Zach will be in around 7 to take you home, finish up the call-ins. Yeah, he's cheating. He's cheating on the show right now, so have to give him a little crap for that, but it's okay. Zach's still a good kid. On the day, the Orioles 4 hits. 4 hits. Now, apparently there's something going on with Westberg. Brandon Hyde. What was the word Brandon Hyde used for this? Like bumps or something? Upper body knocks. He said knocks. Westberg's day off stems from nagging knocks. Brandon Hyde called it upper body to borrow from hockey. Those knocks began in Toronto. This was something that he also got sat for on the opening weekend of the year against Toronto, so I don't really know what's going on there. Obviously, Arias is playing really well. Here's my thing with Arias, and this might be a hot take to some, might not be for others. I think Arias has been very good for the Orioles so far this season. I feel like they should trade him. Get an arm. Arias is a win-now piece for any team. For the Orioles, he can be. But they technically don't need him when they're fully healthy. Now, there's another side of this equation, and I want to say that. Because let's say Westbrook does have to go on the IL at some point, or there's another injury on the infield. Arias is a really good 4th infielder to have, or a utility guy that can play all those positions. He's a really good guy to have. But if Arias puts you over the top to get someone, I would do it. The depth is really important, right? And that's what I mentioned earlier. Depth is super important. It's a hot conversation. I've seen some people on social media say trade him. Other people on social media say don't trade him. If he's the piece that puts you over the top for a starting pitcher that makes an impact, I would do it. But Arias, you can't deny the impact in the field. You can't deny that he's been great to start the year. And he's been one of their most consistent players. So the downside of that is, do you trade one of your most consistent players that's a tough call, right? So another conversation that certainly would, you know, it would cause some controversy. It would cause some controversy. Other than that, though, the game, yeah, pitching wise, went over the staff. Dean really wasn't a great day for him. 4 Diamondbacks homers on the day. Just, you know, top 4 guys get a homer. Josh Naylor is still really good. For those that don't know, Josh Naylor destroyed this Orioles team. Destroyed. I mean, you just want to talk about this game. 3 for 4 with the homer. The Orioles offense, and I saw the stat from I think it was Avi Miller on Twitter. Let me try to pull that up real quick because I think it's really interesting about how the Orioles can be so hit or miss with their run production. At least I feel like it was him. Maybe it was someone else. But it was something along, I don't know where it was. Maybe it wasn't Avi, maybe it was someone else, but it was something along the lines of the Orioles. They have scored like the 8th most runs in the league, but it doesn't feel like that because it's so hit or miss. They will score 10 or they will score 0. It is better, and we've talked about this so much on the show. It's been brought up by multiple people of how you would much rather them score 4 to 6 a night than 10 2 nights and 0 the other 2 nights because you're going to lose more games that way. You know, you could go 2-2 with those 0 and 10 run games. You could win all 3 games possibly if you score 4 or 5 or 6. I don't know the future. I mean, let's put it. This will be my parting game. How about this? My parting game is on a scale of 1 to 10. How confident are you in Brandon Hyde? 0 being not confident, get him out of here. 10 being have the utmost confidence he's the guy to lead them to the World Series. Right now, where's your confidence level? I'm not expecting a lot of high numbers. I'm expecting some negatives even, so that'll be that'll be something. All you can do is laugh, though. It just feels like something's off, and you know you have to do something. A lot of zeros, negatives. Yep, it's 2. I think our highest so far is 4. Yeah, a couple 4s in here, but a lot of zeros, a lot of 1s, a lot of negatives. And look, I think that everybody has a part to play here. I think Michael Elias did not build a proper team this season. You know, I think Brandon Hyde has been very cute to start the year and hasn't really had, you know, whether it's a grip or whatever you want to call it, you know, going through so many lineups to start the year, kind of yanking guys up and around and sitting guys on the bench when they're hot, like that doesn't help anybody. I get you want to try to experiment with stuff, but I just say let guys get into a groove first, and you keep the guys who are in the groove in, and you experiment with the other guys, right? I just feel like it went a little haywire. And then Carlos mentioning it here, this is another big contention point is, you know, we're seeing extensions for these young players happening left and right, and the Orioles have not been one of those teams. Obviously, you have a lot of hard decisions, or, you know, they shouldn't be hard, but they're going to be because that's just the way it is. You know, Gunnar, Adley, Westberg, Jackson, like, you know, you have so many of these guys that you have to keep a lot of these guys. Can they keep every single player? Probably not. That's not how it works. At least it's not usually. It works sometimes. But I mean, you can't let Gunnar walk out the door. That'd be malpractice. I don't think you can let Adley walk out the door. You can't let Jackson walk out the door. Is Westberg the one? I don't know. Do you keep 2 and let 2 go? But with it just feels like with all of these contracts that are being handed out, you know, you see like Christian Campbell and Jackson Merrill and all these guys, it's kind of like it's like a slap in the face almost, because, you know, we've had these conversations for a while, and that's what it goes back to, a while. So we got Zach Bollinger in the house. I'll bring him on. Zach, I revealed your heinous crime against me that you cheated on me.
Yeah, that was a tough time. I thought me and Jake were supposed to go. We're like, yeah, at 6:15 during the middle of the eighth, we'll do that, and then I'll be able to hop off and hop off, and then everybody went 1, 2, 3. I was like, are we serious? Except for I was like, this is the quickest 4 innings. We literally at 5:45. I'm sitting there and it's the going into the seventh, and I was like, yeah, 6:15, perfect. Like
Yeah.
that'll give us 25 minutes to talk. Game will end. We'll start this at 6:55, 7. Boom, everything's gonna work out. Nope.
Yeah.
Everyone decides to just.
Have you? I guess were you a little hot and then have cooled off? Because I've just been ranting for I've been going crash out mode for 30 minutes. That's what I've been doing.
No, I honestly I haven't, because I've just been. This is exactly what I've expected from this team. It's consistently inconsistent.
So your expectations are just so low, you don't even care. Essentially, is what.
It's not that I don't care. It's that, geez, Kevin, it feels like I'm watching the same horror movie over and over and over, and I can't look away from the screen because for some reason, have this hope that maybe the next person's gonna get the one thing. It's maybe they'll get in the running car instead of walking over the chains. All the chainsaws, but it isn't. It's just a horror movie right now. It is very, very brutal. It's very brutal. Yeah, I'm definitely a little fired up. That's for sure.
Yeah, I said it. I think this series against Toronto is going to determine a lot.
I just said it with Jake. I am Tomo saving the freaking season on Friday. I'm putting it in writing. Tomo is saving the season on Friday.
Man,
let's go. Seven innings. He's getting us back on track. Unfortunately, Tomo, we brought you in. Everyone was excited that you could be this, high-end 3, this wild card number 3. You have to be the ace now. Sorry. Things happen.
Yeah, I talked about that too, where it was hey, the ideal situation would be let's let Tomo kind of gradually work his way up and get comfortable. No, 2 weeks in, you're the number 1 starter of this.
No, sorry, dude.
No time. So, all right, I gotta bounce. I put the call-in link in the channel, so for channel members, you can call in. Zach will have a time with you. Crash
we'll
out
talk
together. I gotta go do something for Locked On. So hopefully everybody enjoyed the crash out. Usually I'm not like that, by the way. Usually I'm very level.
I can't believe you crashed out and I wasn't here.
Well, you decided to cheat on me, so that's what you get. That's what you get. So, all right.
God,
Zach will take it from here. Peace out, everybody. Corbin Burns is my random memorial.
Jesus, Kevin. Jeez.
I'm just saying.
Take me while I'm down, Kevin.
Get all of it out now so we can only go up from here, right? That's how you do it. That's how you do it. All right.
That's how you do it. I'll see you, Kevin. Okay, I'm taking the show back, boys. Taking the show back. Yeah, I am so upset. I missed Kevin's crash out. It was not. Also, can someone in the chat? I'm just going through the chat right now. Why were we all putting zeros negative? What was the scale on? Because this is not. I don't think this was going well. What were we so? Was there? We're going to our first caller. Okay. I understand why they were. I understand why. All right, let's go to our first guy. We're going down under. AJ, how we doing?
I've been awake for about 24 hours now.
Aren't you glad you saw that, though? Was that not a good... I mean, I'll tell you something, Matt. If you needed something to put yourself to sleep, that Orioles offense will do it.
I'm telling you, man, if it wasn't for needing to keep the perfect streak alive, I would have been out by the 4th. Dean Kramer finally gets a competent defense and just starts serving up meatballs. But it didn't matter because, it could have been me on the mound. It could have been prime Nolan Ryan. You physically cannot win a baseball game. You've put it best. You cannot win a baseball game with 0 runs.
Yeah, it really, it's as simple as that. This Orioles offense, we've sat here for days and talked about, are they doing enough with pitching? The pitching is the big issue. This is what, the second time in 6 games that they've scored 0 runs, 7 games that they've scored 0 runs. Coming off a game where you scored 3, it just feels like this entire season has been one big, hey, we're either going to be the best offense in history or you're going to want to turn this TV off.
And hell, even our good offensive performances have been declining. I mean, they showed a graph during the game, and it's like we start with 12 runs, and then we had 10 runs, and then it's 8 runs, and then it's 5 runs. It's like even our offensive explosions are more like little pops now.
Yeah.
I was fucking kidding when I said a week ago that this lineup has no pop. I might not be kidding anymore. What the?
This is
on top of the fastball. We've been late on almost every single fastball thrown. If I took a tally of how many middle pitches we've missed in the last 3 games, I would look like a crazy person drawing on the walls of my cell. Like, unreal the amount of just straight down the pipe fastballs we're missing. It's like they heard the go the other way comments and we're like, oh yeah, let's just not be able to pull at all. Like there's a balance, guys.
I agree with the Biohacks. I kind of missed the home runs. Hell, I understand we were only hitting solo shots and it wasn't helping, but at least we were scoring. It was something to watch. And at least I felt like we could put the ball in the ballpark. Like at worst, it felt like at least everyone was in scoring position. They weren't doing that. Felt like they were in scoring position when they were at home. Now it just feels like the whole offense. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. It is every word you can think of. And I'm running out of words to describe this Orioles team. That's the issue, is I'm genuinely running out of words because I can't use any good ones. It's hard. I can't be like, they're fun. This is exciting. I'm having a great time.
Zach, you certainly can't describe them as fine. The Orioles just aren't fine, and they haven't been fine since last June. And I've been one of the ones
they got figured out.
And I can't even get fired up today like I normally do because, one, I'm just physically exhausted.
Yeah, I was gonna say that actually might just be the sleep deprivation. That might not be the Orioles for you.
Mentally exhausted. Dean gave up that first run and I was ready to be optimistic. Other times Dean gives up the first run and I'm like, it's game over. But I was ready to be optimistic today, and then at bat after at bat.
Once it went down 4-0, I was like, well, thanks for coming.
Well, I kind of stopped. I've stopped because originally when Gunnar first came up, I was like, Gunnar's fine. He's hitting the ball so hard. But at a certain point, I don't really give a shit how hard you hit it if you keep hitting it on the ground. If we keep hitting the ball on the ground, it's going to put me in an early grave. It's going to put me in the ground. Like, the double plays. I love KB, best announcer in baseball. He needs to shut his mouth about the double play situation of last year. Because
they saved all their double plays for this year. What are you talking about, AJ? They hit the least amount in history last year so that they could break the record this year. Simple as that.
Every day, the Orioles find new and exciting ways to just blow shit. Yesterday was the weirdest double play. I know it was a lot of the umpire's fault, or they're throwing to the wrong base, or they're playing Mateo in center, and now it's Ryan O'Hearn getting thrown out by a solid 10 feet on a ball that bounced maybe 2 feet away from the catcher.
Yeah, it's been frustrating. It's frustrating. There's not much else to say because, like you said, they're finding new ways. It feels like to just end, like to get double plays, to get out of innings. It's never just the simple, they're striking out, they're whatever. It's okay. They're getting runners thrown out at home because of leaving on contact. They're getting insane double plays on line drives to the outfield. It's awful. It sucks.
Yeah, it's a tough team to watch, but it's also tough because I've been talking about it, how this team has no fight. It hasn't had fight since June, and I still think it comes from when we lost to the Astros in that 14-11 game, because we nearly came back, and I think we almost had hope, and we couldn't do it. We failed to come back, and I think ever since then, we've just been like, no point in making comebacks. We couldn't pull that comeback off. So what's the point? Because we haven't been able to do it since then. And it's just it's tough. And I'm not going to talk for too much longer, but it's hard to see the young. We talk about the young guys like Gunnar. Gunnar is not the young guy on the team now. That's the Holiday. That's the Kerstad. Even though he's technically older, he's still like one of the younger guys. Holiday and Kerstad were busting their asses off down the line, down 7-0. They were hauling ass down the line on a ground ball to the second or first baseman like they were the winning run. And that is the fire this team has been lacking. And, I mean, it's why there were so many zeros in confidence for Brandon Hyde, because you can't keep fucking with lineups. You can't keep screwing with defensive positioning. You can't have just no fight. Any other manager gets tossed yesterday for that wacky double play. I mean, could you
And it used to be a comeback team, and it doesn't feel like that anymore. And that's what sucks. Is it genuinely doesn't feel like that anymore?
Yeah, I mean, the O's feel like I do right now. Just they've been awake for 24 fucking hours, and they're just.
It does.
They just need. You know what? I know he got suspended for it, but they just need to all pull like an all-nighter at the casino. Like, who was it on the Nats?
C.J. Abrams.
And they just need to do. It's like when you're playing beer league baseball and you just show up hungover and have the best game of your life. Like, that's what the Orioles need to do. They just need to mess something up so catastrophically that it resets the clock. I don't even know what to say. Like, I love this team, and I do not.
They got to do something. I agree. AJ, they've completely. It's disheartening. It sucks. That's genuinely what it is. It just sucks because it's deflating. The expectations were once again high. You felt like the core takes their step, and they haven't. They haven't.
They haven't, and I don't think they will with Hyde, and I really don't think they will with Elias. And
hey, people are questioning it. It's fair. It's fair. Every criticism of Hyde right now is completely fair. I think they haven't done the best, and something's got to change. Something has to change, and it's not even if it's not Hyde's fault. Something has to change just at the end of the day. You know?
Absolutely. And like, we used to be the locker room everyone wanted to go to. Everyone talked about how great we were. I cannot actually imagine how toxic that locker room is right now. I'm not saying the guys themselves on an individual level are toxic, but that locker room just sounds like a disgusting place to be right now. I would hate to be.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's fun at all. AJ, appreciate you calling it. I'm glad that you go get some sleep.
I'm gonna roll over and go to sleep. So hopefully no breaking news happens. No signings happen during the Zachary.
I don't think you have to worry about any big moves happening. Awesome, AJ. Appreciate you as always, my friend, and we'll catch up later. Awesome, and Duran, what's up, my guy? Saying also then said, hope the O's. I hope the O's can win a series this weekend. They need it. They need a series win more than anything. That's for sure. Next up, we're going to go to our next caller, Samuel. How are we feeling? You're muted.
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
I'm good. Oh man. Yeah, it's I don't have words. It's one of those things.
That's where we're at. That's where we're at. There's nothing to say.
So here's one thing about last night. Like last night when I was watching the game and that whole 3-ring circus with Laz and his crew. First of all, the commentary was absolutely incredible. Like Kevin and Ben.
Oh my gosh!
Like they kept that going and made us smile and whatever. But I think the part that really got me was that Hyde. He walked out, he talked, and then he went back and he came out and talked. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, dude, you need to get tossed. Like you have to throw crap. You got to kick dirt on him. You got to do something. Fire your boys up and let them know that you have their back. And if I'm Tyler O'Neill, because he got screwed, like I think the call, it was really confusing. The ruling would have been that the whole play gets reversed. So I don't know the whole deep about what that does in terms of if the run scores, if O'Neill just goes back to the plate, if it's like, I don't know what happens. But the fact that he didn't get tossed, it's like, if I'm O'Neill, I'm thinking, dude, like you just, like I just got screwed twice. Like, what are you doing?
Especially an inning after the Diamondbacks manager just got tossed, and that's been a big thing, a big, I guess, thing that people have been annoyed with for Hyde. And it's not just yesterday. It's been years that people feel like Brandon Hyde in these situations where you're like, hey, just stick up for somebody. Hey, just go get tossed. Sometimes getting tossed just to get tossed can do something. You know, show your guys you're not going to put up with crap. You have their back. You're going to go fight for them. Sometimes I agree. When you sit there and something controversial happens, whatever, and he's like, hey, you guys decide anything? And they're like, yeah, double play. And he's like, damn. And walks away. You're like, you know, get in their face, even if it's just like, hey, they made the right ruling on, it was a catch. Get in their face that the third base ump's got to call that because it now screwed everyone over. There's got to be something there where, you know, I don't want to be the guy where it's like get tossed every game. But when there's situations that are game-deciding situations, you got to put some life in a one-run game at that point with your team fighting, showing some fight that we haven't seen from them in a little bit. That was the time to go get tossed. That was the time to be like, okay, I'm going to send a statement to this team that we're not going to be pushovers. You know, we're going to go fight for this stuff. The most support I've ever seen Brandon Hyde get was after that Yankees brawl, when he just went after everybody and he just lost his temper because people were like, okay, that's someone who cares. Yeah. Sometimes you look at Hyde in the dugout and you're like, dude, does he, you know, you're like, you know, yell at someone, get tossed for something, you know?
Yeah. It's just one of those things, you know, and that's, you know, going back to that, you know, I still love watching that. Like there are times that I'll go on YouTube, I'll look up that brawl, if you want to call it that. Cause I love seeing Tony, Hayes, and Mullins, all the higher tenured guys at the time, just going immediately up to their guys like, hey, this is our dude. Like he's had our backs in the lean years. And, you know, it's like, and frankly, I'm starting to wonder if a lot of their play right now is because they're just thinking to themselves, well, no one cares. Like no one cares about us. Our GM doesn't care. Our manager doesn't seem like he cares. And again, we don't know what's going on in the clubhouse. You know, I kind of want to, you know, echo AJ right now. It's like you can walk into that room and you can probably feel the tension.
And I think what Jason says here is perfect. The problem is they're not playing fun. They're playing tight. And you can tell it feels like they're playing a pressured-filled game. Even when it's not. We're 13 games in, and it feels like every game you're borderline. You're like, okay, are they fighting for a playoff spot right now? Like it feels like there's just this tension that you could cut with a knife that the second things start going poorly, they're like, crap. Where that's not, you know, 2023, 2022, it was, we're down 5-0 in the fourth. Well, geez, we got the work cut out for us. Let's get to work. And then they'd come back and win. It was never out of a game. They could be down 6 runs in the third. And I was like, how are they going to come back from this? But you knew they were going to. Now they're down 2-0 in the second. And I was like,
usually.
I'm like, maybe we get them tomorrow. Like, do we? And that's an issue because if we're feeling it, you know, down there's got to be those. You know.
And look, I don't want to wish ill on this team whatsoever, but I'm starting to think that if they get swept this weekend, I'm starting to think that might be it. Like it for Hyde, because I mean, this is a Joe Girardi, and I'm seeing a lot of the comparison. They're comparing Hyde to Joe Girardi in 22 when they fired him. 50 some games into the season, and then they went around and made it to the World Series. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I think they were a lot better equipped to win than the Orioles are right now, but still, like a good manager can do a lot. Like he can do a lot,
and sometimes just change can do a lot. Just the idea that something's different can be a lot. Just an idea of a restart. You know, it doesn't necessarily. It's not the restart that fixes everything. It's not the next guy would come in and do these, you know, out of this world, like things that are going to completely change the organization. Sometimes just a different voice in there can help switch things up. You know, a different message, even saying the same message a different way. You know, it can make a difference. So, you know, I don't think 13 games in they're making the move, but I actually just got off.
Well, I mean, Rip's grandfather. It only took him 8 in 1988. It only took him 8 games, and he was gone. So
I think the way I put it, if this team ever touches below 10 games under 500, I think that's when you would seriously see the Orioles considering making a move and a switch mid-season. But if they're sitting there hovering at 500 the whole year, unfortunately, I think they're going to ride it out, see if they could make a push at the end, and then they'd make the move. But if they hit 10 games under, I think it does become a serious conversation and possibility.
Yeah, and then I'll say one more thing and I'll head out. But like I'm still sort of optimistic about the team. I know there's like hardly anything to be optimistic about, But it's one of those things where it's like you see the talent, like from 1 to 9.
Yeah.
There is not a bad hitter on that team. Well, all right.
No.
Like
of the starters,
right,
of
right
the
now,
usual
maybe,
suspects.
but like like in general, you look at their career splits for the most part. Like this is a solid lineup on paper. Like if you would give me that lineup, and I didn't know any better, I'd be like, yeah, this is a good team. This is a good lineup. And then you show me the rotation, I'll be like, oh, we must be rebuilding. I don't know. But with the way things are right now, I think if the starters can get through 5, give up 4 or less, and the offense can pick it up. I hate saying that, but the bullpen's solid, minus Perez, of course. Minus Perez, I hope he's gone. I don't know what's gone, and I love the dude. Like he's a small dude. He's skinny and he can pump gas, and I love that. I love that about him. But he's just lost whatever bit of control he had in 22 and 23. It's just gone, and so it's rough. But again, I'm trying not to jump ship on these guys because the talent's there, and they can play good. They just need, to get out of their own heads. Like that's where they're at. They're just up there, and once they get out of there, there's no stopping this team.
No, and it's what I've said, all year is the most frustrating part of the down, of these struggles is it'd be one thing if this was 22, 21 and they were doing this. I'd be like, all right, like, they're not that good. Like, every other game, it feels like recently we've seen the upside. We know what they're capable of. We've seen them put 12, 10, 9, 8 runs together like that. Yeah. And that's on games where they didn't really even have complete games. They still left a ton of guys on base. We've seen the offensive potential. We've seen every single one of these hitters at one time in their career carry an offense for weeks at a time. But they got to put it together. That's what's most frustrating is the talent's there, but it's just not happening.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? We might see some things turn up. Again, it's only April. Who knows? Things could turn up. They got a tough schedule in April for sure, being away for this long. Maybe I think they have 3 series in a row at home. So who knows? Maybe that'll I'm hoping fans can pack the yard this weekend and show the support for their boys and not turn on them because we're not Yankee fans. We don't do that, and let's just hope that they can show up and encourage the team. See what happens.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Samuel, appreciate you joining as always. Hopefully we're talking next time about an Orioles win of some sort.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Also appreciate
man.
So hopefully. Sam, appreciate you as always, my man. We'll catch you later.
Yep.
Awesome. So if you're new to the channel, this is Kevin and Zach React. We go live after every single Orioles win or every game, win or lose, not after every win. This is one of those tough ones. We're going to move on to our next call though. Steve, how we feeling?
Keep Les Diaz away from the Orioles the rest of the season. I swear to God, the Discord the last 2 days during the games with Les Diaz was absolutely killing him for his strike zone today and the calls he made last night. And I'm going to say this. I think getting rid of Hyde is going to be a decision that helps the Orioles in the future. Because if you remember, Buck Britton, who was the Tides manager 2 years ago, took the Tides to the International League and AAA National Championship.
Yeah. And that's where, it's one of those double-edged swords where it's not always greener on the other side, but I think right now it doesn't matter if it is. I think people just want change. It doesn't matter if it's an immediate, success, if it's immediately they're, going a 10-game win streak, whatever it may be. I think people just want to see someone else in charge right now. I think they want a new message. They want some sort of sign that, hey, they're going to try to figure out what's happening, what's going wrong. Because right now, when you're, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over and hoping for a different result.
Exactly.
So when I think that's the biggest thing with Hyde, do I think a different message would change things? I don't know. Do I think a different, whatever different guy in there would make any drastic changes? I don't. But sometimes like I said earlier with Samuel and AJ, sometimes just having a new face, a new way of putting the message across can help a team. Of course, we're 13 games in. So, talking about firing the manager is a little, I think early, but I think on track. Like I said, if this team falls 10 games under, I would not be surprised at all if those become very, very real possibilities of them making a change. Because at the end of the day, what do you have to lose? If things are already going poorly, if they're 10, 15 games under 500 and you have in your head, yeah, we're moving on from Hyde at the end of this season, maybe you do toss the keys to Buck for the final 3-4 months, and you're like, hey, we want to see what you can do. Here's your quote unquote tryout.
Yeah.
Do something like that. I don't think we see a move before the June, July. I think that's just not. We've seen Elias and them the way they call prospects up and everything. They will wait to make decisions. So they don't jump the gun. So I think realistically, if this team falls 10 games under 500, 10, 15 games in that June, July area, then I think we can start talking about, okay, what is the next steps for manager?
Exactly. And today was Dean's fault. I mean, Dean, what was it? First inning gives up one, settles down for what, 1 or 2 more innings, and then completely combusts. And
that's unfortunately, and even the good innings, there were guys on base. He had 1-3 up, 3 down, but guys on base, and it's tough when you always have traffic on the base paths. Yeah, you can get out of things, but I find so many times I've been saying, oh, we got out of it only giving up one. And eventually over a 9-inning game, if you're, we only gave up one, we got out of it with only one, 3-4 times a game, suddenly you're down 4-5-0. So you got to stack clean innings.
And I just wish Brandon Hyde would stick with one lineup, because what is it? 13 games, 13 different lineups now.
Yep.
And you have Kowser out until June or July. Westberg's been hurt since Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And you're putting an infielder in the outfield. Don't get me started on that again.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. You look through the lineup today, Henderson, Rutschman, O'Hearn. I like that 1 through 3. But then, today's lineup was good. I like today's lineup, but it's even more disappointing when we look at it and we go, okay, this is a great lineup, and it's the offense puts up a goose egg. Dean didn't pitch great, no, not by any means, but you will not score.
Correct me if I'm wrong. 4 hits.
Yep, 4 hits, and 2 of them came in the 7th when they were already down 7-0.
And I agree with AJ. Outside of CO, bullpen's great.
Bullpen's with lights out.
Don't touch the bullpen. We know Bautista will get back to back-to-back appearances eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you do with Perez? I mean, you get the guy
that leash is going to be short. And the biggest thing is, unfortunately, I don't know what lefty they bring in to replace him. I know they just got the one guy, but
the guy from Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm. I think he would probably be, if he goes down Norfolk and has a good outing or two and CO continues to not pitch well, I think it could be, which would be weird. I mean, as much as the past, hasn't been great with Perez, I think his potential, and he did have a great spring training. I mean, Drew French has even talked about this. That's why I think the Orioles are honestly scratching their heads right now too, going, what the hell is going on with Perez? Because it's nothing that even today he comes in, it's kind of in mop-up duty. I mean, game's already 5-0 or 4-0. You're like, okay, what else do they have to do? He comes in, he still gets hit pretty hard. He gives up runs, and you're like, this is not what we were hoping, that you just want one game to get his confidence back, and then you go from there. But it feels like every game you put him in, the confidence gets less and less right now.
Exactly. And now with Eflin on the shelf for probably 3 to 4 weeks, like you said, you got to rely on Sagano, Povich, Morton, Kramer.
Yep. 4 guys that you were hoping would kind of be those wild card, like, hey, they're really good end of the rotation guys that can really help take your rotation to the next level, are now guys that you're like, hey, you need to be the aces of the staff. Sagana went from being the wild card to, hey, it was a huge benefit if you were this ace type pitcher, that would really help, to now it's, hey, we kind of need it. If you don't, we're going to be in trouble. And that's not the position. It's unfair to those guys too. Because I was just talking about Kyle Gibson, unfortunately, when he signed, when he was, they brought him in. They brought him in to be a veteran leader and kind of help there. I don't think they were thinking Kyle Gibson's going to have to come in and be the number 3 starter, especially not on April 9th.
And not only that, Gibson's making his first Tide start tomorrow against Gwinnett, ironically, against the rehabber in Spencer Strider.
Oh, yeah.
I may be going to that game. I don't know yet.
If you're right, that seems like a hell of a game to go to. No O's on either, so might be the night to do it.
Here's the other question: who's pitching the finale Sunday against Toronto?
We don't know yet. We don't know
because I said this not last. I said it one day earlier this week. Brandon Young has been shoving for Norfolk.
I think he's got to be the call. If they're calling someone up, it's going to be him. I'd be shocked.
I would not be surprised.
And especially he's already on the 40 man. It just makes everything lines up to him being that guy.
But what I'm hoping is this team takes tomorrow and just tries to refocus their energy on hitting the ball, home runs. I know we say, manufacture runs, but hey, what's the old saying in baseball? Chicks dig the long ball.
If we're not going to score anyway, we might as well just hit home runs.
Exactly. And I want 2 of 3 from Toronto, but I don't know. Toronto's not looking good either.
No, and honestly, that's the one thing is no one in the AL East necessarily has looked, besides the Yankees, those 3 games to start the year. They're now, they've lost, I think, 5 of their last 6 or something. So no one necessarily, the only team that won in the AL East yesterday was the Blue Jays. And the only reason they won was they were playing the Red Sox. So someone had to win that game. Yeah, the AL East is not, you could say they're beating up on each other, but at the end of the day, this is the time of year where if you're going to struggle, get it out now, but you cannot have this continue. You have to get this start out, win the series in Toronto or against Toronto. That's a big division series we've talked about because you split 2-2 in the first series. Yep. You need that regular season tiebreaker if it comes down to a wild card or something. So win 2 of 3. Take that, go up 4-3 in the season series, and then you got 6 games remaining, and it allows you to go 500 over those last 6 games against them and still get the tiebreaker.
Because this 9-game homestand, I know it's Toronto first. I don't remember who's in the middle because I know Cincinnati's the back end.
Yeah, it's Toronto, then Cleveland, then Cincinnati.
Ugh. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that series.
No.
Especially if Cleveland has a lead in the 9th, you know who's coming in.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing is they're going to have to win these tough games against these tough ball clubs because it is really genuinely a tough schedule that the Orioles have to start this year. And it's showing, they're playing good teams and they're getting beat by these good teams. It's not necessarily sometimes I say they beat themselves, but other times this schedule has been brutal on them.
Yeah. And not only that, the early part of the Orioles schedule is mostly on the road.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, Steve, hopefully we get back on track this weekend. Hopefully we get back on track.
Team needs to just take tomorrow, chill, get their mindset ready for the homestand, and come out swinging Friday night.
That's all we need. And Steve, hopefully after Friday night, we're talking about a win. Hopefully next time we're talking, it's about a win.
I hope so.
I do too. Steve, appreciate you as always, my man. We'll catch you next time.
Yes, sir.
Get you later. Awesome. And I saw somebody up here talk about does his start lineup. So he started on the 5th, so it would be a little bit of an extended break. It would be about 2 days extra. Usually he would pitch, I guess, what would that be, on Friday or Saturday? But I think they're going to, if they feel comfortable, they'll have him probably throw a bullpen today or tomorrow, and then he'll go from there. Hey, we're into our last caller. Maybe something to watch here. Joe, how are we feeling?
I am very tired. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you, Joe. You got the truck?
Yes, we do. We're going to do a truck tour in just a second.
I love it.
I know you've been giggly for that for like 2 months and we haven't done it yet. But yeah, first off, it's a game. Relax, people. It's okay. Take a breath. It's a game. It's a long season. Everybody has a job to do. Maybe you don't like how they're doing their job. Maybe they'll get fired. Maybe they won't. Maybe the team turns it around. I don't know.
Maybe they don't.
But it's a game. No need to jump off bridges. No need to be erratic.
Joe, if
It's
we
a
weren't
game.
overreacting though in game 13, why would we be here? That's what we do.
Yeah, it's true. Perez, I think his leash is pretty much up now.
Yes, I would agree.
That's the only really thing I got to say about the game. The rest of it was fairly self-explanatory. They just didn't show up.
Yeah, it's been rough. It has. It's just been disappointing.
I didn't get to sleep till like 2:30 because of the washing machine fiasco, and I was up by 6. So I'm running on like 5 hours sleep since Sunday or Monday morning. So maybe 6. So
You know what, Joe? But you're powering through it. You're powering through it week after vacation.
Yeah, exactly. But let's do this truck tour real quick. So,
Let's see it.
we started off today with a full truck because today is Wednesday. As you can see, this pallet of 12 ounce.
That's a lot of caffeine.
Which goes to the top normally. It's about halfway empty now. So I did 350 cases today, so it was a little busy.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh,
We got our flavors in the second door here. That top shelf was completely full this morning. It's almost there. And then you got the pink, which is the top seller right now. And we got your blues and your whites. And we got our sugar frees in the back here. And on top are our 4-packs for the Walmart. Around the back of the truck, we got the dolly and the billboard. So everybody knows,
that.
you know. And on the other side here, we got our big boys. So this 20-ounce bay was also full this morning. It's about 2/3 of the way empty. The 16-ounce bay was also full this morning. All the 8-ounce flavors are up top. These 8-ounce flavors up top also were full this morning. And lastly, the 8-ounce bay, which was full. And that's pretty much
I did not know you had that much on the truck, Joe.
Yeah. And I go there once a week to fill it up. They come to me once a week to fill it up. I'm kind of lucky about that. So.
Damn, Joe, I'm not going to lie. I did not know.
Typical cab. It's nothing special. It's just typical cab. And we use these lovely printers that don't want to charge at the time. So
love it.
But yeah.
Love it.
But,
that was a great way to end Colin's show. I'm glad we had all the frustrations, and then we get to just sit there and see all the Red Bull. This offense might need some Red Bull to wake up, though, Joe.
Maybe. I know Felix used to drink it all the time in the bullpen, and I haven't seen a can yet this year. So maybe that's what's missing, the Red Bull from the mountain. But
maybe that's all they're missing, Joe.
Maybe that's it. I don't know. But we got a good. I got a good fact and story for you tomorrow when we call in the show at the end there. So,
awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Joe, you be safe.
Chocolate gravy festival coming, so we'll give you some information on. Is Kyle going to be in the studio tomorrow?
I'm not sure, but I'll let him know if he's not. That chocolate gravy. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you've told us about this. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a festival, a cook-off in May, so we're going to break it down. And if Kyle's there, we're going to ask him if he knows anything about chocolate gravy.
We might have to have him make some up for us as well one time. But, Joe, appreciate you calling in as always. Appreciate the Red Bull truck tour to raise the vibes a little bit.
Now
Awesome.
I'm gonna
You
go
stay
home and
safe,
sleep.
Joe. Yeah, go home, get some sleep. You be safe, my friend, and we'll catch you tomorrow.
All right, later.
Later. Awesome. Appreciate everyone who called in. Also, just some housekeeping. Cade Povich's or Bobby Witt Jr.'s the ball Jorge Mateo misplayed has been changed. So, wow, all 3 runs from Cade are unearned. All 3 runs from Cade now that inning are unearned. Hell of that's massive for Cade because that should have been a 3-run. So that means Cade Povich only gives up the 1 earned run. That's big for him, but that lowers his ERA. I believe someone put it up here. Let me see. I literally just had it. Where am I? Yeah, Steve Povich's ERA is now 3.48. So great to see that from him. Go wrap this up in a second. It's been another frustrating game, another frustrating series. Orioles dropped 2 of 3 in Arizona. They're going to be back at it on Saturday against Toronto. This team, they just need to find something. They just need to find something, find some sort of momentum, something to get the boys back on track. But new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Go live after every single Orioles game. We'll be live on the Ryan Ripken Show tomorrow. No game, so no reaction tomorrow. We'll be live from 2:30 till about 4:30 tomorrow. Got some fun guests coming there as well. Had Corbin Burns on earlier today. Go check that out. That full interview will be live in a little bit. But everyone, that's going to do it for this edition of Kevin and Zach React. Hit that like and subscribe button on your way out if you haven't already. Random Oriole. Who's a random guy? That is Taylor Teagarden. Taylor Teagarden, you guys have a fantastic Wednesday, and we will see you back at the Ryan Ripken Show tomorrow and Kevin and Zach React after the next Oriole game on Friday. See you guys.